they're like, oh, well, yeah. So I try to give women specifically that knowledge, because traditionally we haven't had the opportunity to work on machines and cars, and I know I'm generalizing because there are women that do that, but by and large, it's an unknown knowledge. So I try to share that with as many people as I can. I have worked now for 3 years with Wilderness Voyagers, and you're going to hear me touting their praises throughout this entire webinar, because it's the best company I've ever worked for. Not only do they take every step to make sure their guests are comfortable and happy and well cared for, but they do the same for us as guides. We feel very appreciated as employees, and that's a hard thing to do when we're not in Ohiopyle. I am several hours. I'm going to say, I don't even know how many I am from Ohiopyle, but probably 11 or 12 hours away from Ohiopyle. So we don't get to see each other. But Cassie and Eric, who own and run Wilderness Voyagers and the bike part of Wilderness Voyagers, are very, very good at keeping us all in the loop. We have regular kind of just, hey, how you doing kind of meetings with both of them. And it makes us have some buy-in to the company, because they're just fabulous. Let me see. I think we've already touched on most of the intro on me. I live right on the Katy Trail. I live in Augusta, Missouri. If you've done the trail, I see a couple friends here that have done the trail and have done the trail with me. So it's really fun to see you all here. If you've done the trail, you know Augusta is a teeny tiny little town, 250 people. That's where I'm from. Yeah, so it's nice being right on the trail and getting to ride it every day and live in a place where other people want a vacation. That's kind of fun. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Wilderness Voyagers. And if you've done a Wilderness Voyagers tour, you recognize this catalog. You probably got this in the mail. This is the Ohio to Erie page. That's why I'm showing you that. And Lisa was right. I did do an Ohio tour in 2019. It was the Rails to Trails Conservancy ride for the Trailblazers. Basically, what happens with them is we design the ride for them, and we donate our skills to do that. And then we guide the ride for them as well. And then that ride, if we like it, becomes one of our Wilderness Voyagers rides. So basically, we're scouting it out for the Rails to Trails Conservancy, and then we use it for ourselves. And that's what's happening with the Ohio ride. We loved it so much that we decided as soon as we could, we were going to put it on the books and make it one of our regular rides. So that's what we did. And I will be hosting it again. I'll be guiding it again this year with a fellow guide who actually lives in Yellow Springs. I was telling Lisa today, he guided with me last time, and I got thrown in last minute last time because we had a guide have to drop out for a family emergency. And Cassia said, guess what? You're now the lead guide in Ohio. And I'm like, what? So it was really great to have Tom Hellebig with me, who lives in Yellow Springs, and he will be with me again this year. We have 3 tours in Ohio this year. 2 are sold out, and 1 I'm sure is right on the verge of selling out. In fact, all of our tours are doing really well this year. With COVID happening last year, everybody is very anxious to get out on the trails and spend some time doing something other than being in our homes. I'm going to use my glasses because I can't see what I've written. And I don't write this stuff because I don't know it, but I've got so much I want to tell you. So I just don't want to forget anything. I wanted to tell you a little bit about Wilderness Voyagers. They do, and some of you, like I said, have done Wilderness Voyagers tours. So you're familiar with what I'm going to say, and excuse me for giving you old information, but I know there's a lot of you that aren't familiar with it. Wilderness Voyagers has 32 locations that we do tours out of across the United States, and then 1 or 2 in Cuba, 2 different tours in Cuba right now. Each location will have, the Katy Trail has 11 send-offs. I know Idaho, the Coeur d'Alene, and the Centennial Trail, and Trail of the Hiawatha, which I did for the first time 3 weeks last year during the smoke that they had out in Spokane. That became quite challenging. But we have had to add tours left and right to that location this year because everybody is anxious to get on bikes. So we probably have, I'm going to guess, 115 to 125 send-offs every year. with Wilderness Voyagers. The tours are rated with various difficulties from really easy to advanced, and that rating is based on the daily mileage and the terrain. Those of you who ride rails to trails know that rails to trails are by and large flat. They run at about a 2% grade is all. On the Katy Trail, if you've done the Katy, you know that the first 2 days you feel every bit of that 2% because it is crushed limestone. So it's not as easy flowing as it is if you're on the road. But we offer various difficulty ratings from very, very easy to beginners to very advanced. We have SAG support and GPS guidance all along the way. And by SAG, I mean, we pick you up at your airport, we bring you to the hotel, and then we ride right along with a van, the entire trail, no matter where we are, whether it's the Katy or the Coeur d'Alene. We set up support stops and lunch at least 3 times on every day. And if it's longer days, it'll be more than 3 times. So if you're riding with us, you have opportunity to see the van, put your gear. Those chilly mornings, you're wearing too many clothes. By the time you get to the first support stop, you can put them in the van because the van will be there waiting for you. We also have a sweep rider. So when we work on tours, we work 2 together, 2 at a time. And one of us will drive and one of us will sweep ride. And then the next day we switch. Then the driver will then sweep and the sweeper will be the driver. And what that does for us is allows us to see the trail from all sides. We get to see the trail from the riding perspective, the entire trail, and we get to see the entire trail from driving. And trust me, being on a bike and riding a trail is very, very different than trying to find each trailhead in a van. So it's nice for us to have the experience of the entire trail. Both guides have that experience. Let me see what else I got here. Support stops include snacks, bike maintenance if you need it. I have a tendency to walk around and check everybody's tires because I'd rather have you have a flat tire right there at the support stop while you're eating your snacks and visiting with your friends instead of out on the trail. So I walk around and touch everybody's tire at the support stops. And then we usually make lunch right on the trailhead. We sometimes buy it and bring it, but mostly we carry everything we need in our trailer. The guides will go shopping the day before your tour starts, and the trailer is stocked with really nice food. And we buy groceries along the way. So we always restock the fresh vegetables and fruits and such that we need. Every guide is a proficient mechanic. I'm not going to say professional, but proficient. We have trainings every year that we have to go to. Both beginning guides and experienced guides have to go to trainings. And this last year, she was going to have us all do bike maintenance tests. So she sent out this sheet of all these things. And I'm panicking because I don't even know what some of the tools are, but it's very kind of obscure tools that probably I would never use it on the trail. But we can fix almost anything that needs to be fixed out on the trail. And if it isn't, we know where the local bike shop is. We have a list of all of those contacts, bike shops, and that'll bring me right to safety, hospitals. We know where all the hospitals are. We know how to get you there. So the guides are very, very well versed in what they do and very professional. We all are CPR and first aid certified, and we all have the DOT specifications for the driving that we do. On our rides, we give you either a Garmin for your bicycle so you can't get lost. I laugh at people on the Katy because those of you who have done the Katy know it's a pretty straight shot. So if you get lost on the Katy, you're not paying attention, except for we do have, I guess, some spurs into some towns. But we have Garmins that we can fit on your bike, and they're preloaded with the course. But right now we've been trying to get everybody to get on board with Ride with GPS. And we download or upload, I don't know the correct term, the course on Ride with GPS, and we give you the means to get onto our course. And that's how we direct people to where they need to go. It's been very, very helpful in several situations. We got lost out in at the route of the Hiawatha. It was the first time I'd ever ridden the trail, and so I had no clue which way we're supposed to go, but we just kept following the little red line on the Ride with GPS, and it took us exactly where we needed to go. So we can't get, you can hardly get lost on the Wilderness Voyagers trips. Then I have bad weather, no problem. We have a sheet that the guides look at, that we have alternative activities in every single overnight stop. So if we can't ride for some reason, and that does happen, last year, maybe 2 years ago, we got into a tornado situation at our lunch stop on the Erie Trail for the first day. So we had to load everybody up and haul them in to Sedalia and stay at the Bothwell. And so we just had a list of things that the people could do there in Sedalia because they missed out on their afternoon ride. And speaking of accommodations, Sedalia and the Bothwell, all of our accommodations in any tour that you want to take are top notch. The places we stay are top notch. The food is fantastic, and most of your meals are included in our tours. And I'm going to have to stop here because I know I'm pushing Wilderness Voyagers because that's who I work for, and I think they're great. But almost any bike tour that you take is going to be very similar to what happens with Wilderness Voyagers. They will give you some meals. Some meals you're on your own. They will arrange accommodations for you. They'll have a sweep rider and a van rider. So although I think we do it the best, and I hope that the people that I see here that are my friends from other tours will agree with me, but other tours do very similar things. So if you're going to take a tour, that's basically what you're going to run into. Well, as you know, this last year, we've had a heck of a year with trails. Most of our tours were canceled or compromised. But what that did for us was force us to step up our game, which we did. We have a bike mechanic, Montana, who is posted up in Ohio. He's very ingenious. He came up with this portable hand washing station, which uses a high pressure sprayer. You pump it, and then the water comes out when you put your foot on the lever. And so we've instituted COVID safety measures like that. We have everybody wear we've dropped our tours from a maximum of 12 to 9, so we don't have so many people in the trailer and in the van. And most of the time, there's at least 2 people that know each other. So it's those people already are together. So we're not exposing 9 people. We're basically exposing 6 people or whatever to each other. But we try to keep a seat between everybody. We instilled protocol, like whatever seat you sit in when you first get in the van is the seat you stay in the entire time. We sanitize the van every time the group gets in and out. We sanitize it in between. We wear masks at all times in the van, the drivers, and when we're fixing food, we're wearing gloves and masks, sanitizing everything. And have, of course, hand sanitizer and wipes available. I think we even gave them a little bottle of hand sanitizer last year. This year, we're gonna carry on with that same protocol, even though a lot of people are getting vaccinated, and we're encouraging all of our guides to get vaccinated, although it's not going to be possible for everybody because, like here in Missouri, they have a tier system, and I just now squeaked in under the bar for the tier system, and I'm going to get vaccinated Friday. It's my first shot, but I was lucky to get that. So they're not making it mandatory, but it's suggested for not only the guides, but also the guests. So safety and COVID safety is a top priority for Wilderness Voyagers and all of the guides. And even when it comes to getting in the van, people forget after a while. We forget. Everybody, you know how this is to put your mask on. We just say mask up, everybody, every single time we get in. And if they don't have it, a lot of times it's in their bike, which we've just put on the roof of the van. We have extra masks in the van. We just hand them out. This cleanliness and this food and being sanitary with food didn't just start with COVID, though. We're really careful about all of that, wearing gloves and washing the dishes frequently. So we try to keep that as a high priority all of the time. When we started eating out this year, we usually eat out in the evenings. And so for COVID, we've had to try to either order out and bring it to our hotel or sit in an outdoor setting. So we try again, and a lot of times in Idaho, we let the people on the tour kind of make that call, as long as it was not going to put us or anybody else in danger or compromise us. I'm not going to say danger because that's a harsh word, but if anybody felt compromised, nobody could do it because we weren't going to compromise one person for the group choice. But you could always, choose to go on your own. It's just as a group, we couldn't do it if one person felt compromised. So we're very, very concerned that everybody's comfortable. Everybody feels comfortable, feels confident with us as guides. And that was a big deal for us all of 2019. I was going to tell you about the Ohio trips, since this is where we are. It was the first Ohio trip I did was amazing. I was telling Lisa, I've lived on the Erie Trail now. I've been riding trail. I've been living here for 7 years, but I've been riding the Erie for 10 years, pretty solid. And I've probably been up and down this Erie Trail more times than anybody I know, besides the other guides that work with me or other guides that work in other tours. Now I lost my train of thought. Oh, so we are totally sold out this year, and as are all of them, including the Ohio trips. We have 3 Ohio trips on the books. 2 are already sold out, and 1 is really close to being sold out. But what you can do with Ohio, with Wilderness Voyagers, and I'm not so sure about other tour companies, but I would guess that is you can design a custom tour. So if you, let's say, wanted to do an Ohio trip and it didn't conflict with a time that we're already there, then you can design it. You can say, I want to do it these dates, or is this open? As long as you have 8 people, they will run a tour just for you and your friends. So it doesn't have to already be on the books. That leaves a lot of flexibility. You can open it up to other people so that your individual prices are down, or you can just keep it to your group. They're very, very good and very accommodating at that. In fact, I was surprised. I'm doing some Idaho tours in July, and I saw on the schedule that one's leaving the 18th of July and one's leaving the 19th of July, and I thought that was a typo. So I was concerned, and I asked Kasia, what are we doing, the 19th or the 18th? And she said, yes. I'm like, what? We're doing 2 at one time? So that's going to be very interesting. We'll just have one day in between, but we've got such a demand right now, and we have Wilderness Voyagers has the knowledge and the equipment and enough top-notch guides to pull it off. So we're going to do it. But back to our Ohio trip, 613, 620, and 627 are our tour dates. 6 days from Cincinnati to Cleveland. We stop at Cincinnati, pick up from hotels, and we ride that very day. I just saw on our website, or maybe I read in this book that I showed you before. At Wilderness Voyagers, we believe it's about riding. So the very first day we ride. A lot of companies will travel that first day, and you don't ride till the second day. On the Erie Trail, we pick you up in St. Charles at 6 o'clock in the morning. We drive 3.5 hours to the other end of the trail, and we put you on bikes that very same day, and you ride your first 40 miles after you've gotten up at 6 o'clock and ridden 3.5 miles or 3.5 hours. But everybody seems wonderful with it. So we do that with all of our tours, and this one's no different. Cincinnati will pick up from hotels early in the morning. We get on the bikes and we ride to Xenia. Is that how you say it? Xenia. But we stay in Yellow Springs. So we'll ride to Xenia, take a little short shuttle to Yellow Springs, where we stay in the Mills Park Hotel. I told you, fantastic. That place is amazing. Just like there are others, Bothwell. There's a couple in Idaho that were just as amazing. And then we ride to Columbus, where we stay in the Hotel Levesque. Did I say that correctly? Yes. Good. Yeah. The Hotel Levesque. And then we on to Mount Vernon, where we stay in the Grand Hotel. And then Millersburg, where we stay in the Hotel Millersburg. And Akron, we stay in the Courtyard Akron downtown. And then to Cleveland, we will take you back to your car, whether it's in Cincinnati or whether you flew into Cincinnati, you're flying out of Cleveland, you're going to stay in a hotel. We will transport you to wherever you need to go at the end of the tour. I was looking at, actually Kasia sent me a little link. I guess the Little Miami Trail is having some construction this summer. So if you didn't know that, be aware of that. There's some bridges that are going to be replaced. I don't know if it's the bridge or the bridge railings are going to be replaced. And so that's supposed to take 2 weeks for each bridge. in April. They should have that done in May, by middle of May, which won't affect our tours because our tours are all in June. And then there's, what else was there? There was some berm building. They were building some berms. I've got it in my, I don't have it here on my sheet, what mile markers those are, but they're easy to find if you look up the trail system. But there's one that we're gonna have trouble getting around, and that was, let me see, I got it here. A bridge is going to be replaced on US 22, Ohio 3. I'm not familiar with that. I'm going to have to do some research on that tomorrow so I can find a way around.
And
but
we can help you with that too. We are getting more and more information about that particular detour.
Thank you.
You and I could convene and talk a little
Wonderful.
bit about that.
Because I need to find a way to get around it on the bikes.
Yep.
I know that it's going to be closed down for 40 or 50 days. So that's going to affect us. But
Yep.
I only bring all this up to tell you that where there's a will, there's a way. And we always find a way.
Right.
The Katy Trail is notorious for flooding. And we keep an eye out. I know what river stage at each town is going to be trouble for us. For instance, 27 feet in Boonville will put parts of the trail that I know underwater. And then we just have to deal with shuttling at that point. But we try to get you the most mileage so that you're on your bike more than you're in the van every single time that we can. So we are masters at figuring all of that out. Lisa asked me to talk to you a little bit about how to prepare for a long bike ride. My guess is most of you already know that. Some of you already know that. I'm going to, though, give you my thoughts on that.
Teri, I had forgotten in the beginning, I was going to pull up a poll and ask people that very question. So do you mind if I interrupt for a second? And
jump
so
right
I'm
in.
going to pull up a poll for everybody. There's just 2 questions on it. We're just trying to kind of get to know you a little better. I know there's 54 of you on here right now, but go ahead and answer. You should see a poll window come up, just asking you if you've been on a supported tour, and then if you're planning on doing one. So great. Okay, looks like people are answering. Looks like about half and half have been, and a little over half have been on a supported tour.
Well, one thing that we all have in common is that we ride bikes, and we love riding bikes, and we love the trails, or we wouldn't be here tonight. So I think the things that I'm going to say will be, oh yeah, I see it now.
Yes. I just shared the results, so you can kind of see how y'all answered. So
yeah, it is a split pretty even. So some of you are going to learn a lot of new information from what I'm going to say, and some of you are going to like, oh yeah, I know that. But I don't think it ever hurts to hear from. I used to be a teacher, and I always told everybody, I always have to assume you know nothing, because I'll miss something if I don't do that. So I'm going to tell you everything, and then some of you will be saying, yeah, I know that. And some of you will be like, oh, that's new news. But I want to tell you first about Wilderness Voyagers and our tours. For training and packing, once you sign up for a Wilderness Voyagers tour, the bike manager will send you a packing list and a training guide. Now, remember, these are just suggestions. People tell me all the time, I can't get all of that stuff in my suitcase. Well, you don't really need all of that stuff in your suitcase. Use your past experience as a guide, and you know what you need. For instance, I don't ever ride in bike shorts. I never wear padded shorts because I ride all the time. And I've gotten so used to being on the bike that it's second nature to me. So when I see, she says in the guide, pack 4 pairs of cycling pants, I don't need those. So you have to kind of use your own judgment. And remember, it's just a suggestion, both the training and the packing list. For Wilderness Voyagers, you can book as a group. Like I said, you could do a custom tour as long as you have 8 or more. You can book as a couple, or you can book as a single. You can get what we call a single supplement, which means you have to pay a little bit more, and you get your own room in every single place we stay. And I think that single supplements maybe, I don't know, high 200s to low 300s. But if you want to be in your own room and not have to share with somebody, then that's kind of the way to go. It really would benefit you in the long run. You can also rent bikes from us, or you can bring your own bikes. We rent top quality Kona bikes. In fact, most of the guides kind of jones after our bikes, but we maintain them well. They're good bikes to begin with, and they're perfect for what we do. And I've never done a road ride with Wilderness Voyagers, so I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure that they would have the same quality road bikes that they have for us. We have a straight bar Kona, Dr. Do, and then we have a drop bar or Rove NRB. Both really, really great bikes. In fact, I would love to have a Rove NRB, but once you get to double-digit bikes, I'm told that you've got a little bit of a problem. So I got to stop buying bikes. When you rent from us, we have all the tubes, the tires. We include a seat bag, and our reason for doing that is so that you're carrying your own CO2, your own tube, your own tire changing equipment. Not that you have to change your own tire, but it gets pretty bulky for a guide to have to carry the gear for 12 people. If we've got 12 bikes out on the trail and everybody's carrying their own tire changing tools, then once I come to you as a sweep rider, I can use what I've got in my bag, or I can use yours out of your bag. So it's just kind of double doing it. It's not to say we don't trust people to change tires, because if you have that skill, I say go for it. And by the time I get to you, you got it changed. I'm a happy camper, but you don't have to. We're out on the trail. We do that kind of stuff, and we have seen almost everything you can imagine. I had a woman whose tire blew. I don't think it was even our bike. It might have been our bike, but I don't remember. But her tire totally blew out on the sidewall. So I shimmed it with little pieces of tube this long I keep in my bag, because I've done this before. So I shimmed it inside, I shimmed it outside. I took electrical tape and just wrapped it all the way around the rim and all the way around the tire. And she was able to travel 18 miles further on that blown out tire. So we have seen almost every situation you can imagine, including injuries. I hate to say that we do that, but that happens. I mean, that's just part of it. You know, on trails, you have those arms that come down like this, and you have to maneuver around them. People hit those things all the time, and they hit each other because they're looking around. But like I said, we're trained in CPR and first aid, and we know how to get you where you need to go if you're hurt. And the van's only just the next support stop away and can always come back. And we've had to do that, and we'll do that every single time. So you're very safe with us. If you bring your own bike, that's wonderful too. You need to bring, if you have unique things that are just for your bike, let's say you have you're riding a fat tire bike, which has 4-inch tires, humongous tubes, you have to bring those yourself. Though we may have one in the trailer, it's not a sure bet. So you bring those, we carry those, or you carry those, and then if we don't use it, it goes home with you. The same with e-bikes right now. E-bikes are hugely popular, and we do rent e-bikes, and a lot of people are riding the e-bikes. And I'm gonna tell you a little story about myself. When people first started riding e-bikes, I thought, well, that's kind of cheating, because I was a purist and not really thinking about it. But as I've seen it develop, I will tell you, I think it's a perfect way to ride a bicycle. It allows everybody to ride. It allows you to ride even when other things, let's say your strength is gone, or you've gone through a surgery, or you electric tricycles, your balance is gone. I think they're wonderful. It allows a lot of people to be out on the trail that wouldn't be able to be out on the trail otherwise. So I'm a big e-bike fan. But if you have an e-bike and you bring it, make sure you know the battery's capabilities. I had a woman with a tricycle told me it would go 60 miles. And I knew that wasn't going to happen, because she was riding on pavement. She was riding her 60 miles on pavement, and we were riding on crushed limestone. And I told her, you're going to get 35 miles max. Depends on how much you use the power, of course. And she got 35 miles. So she ended up riding 8 miles with that bike without the power. But she did it. She did fine. But she learned at that point that it was good to have another battery along. So it's always good to have two, or make sure you charge it and you know the battery's capacity when you bring it. So if you're bringing your own bike, that's wonderful. We'll help you work on it. We'll get it to the bike shop if it needs maintenance or something breaks along the way, but make sure you have any of your own specialized gear with you when you come. I also wanted to say that a lot of people are worried about food, what they eat on the tour. How will we know? Special needs, special dietary considerations. And with Wilderness Voyagers, and I hope other companies do this too, we give you an extensive questionnaire before you ever come on the tour. So the guides have access to that right before, maybe 2 weeks before the tour happens. So we see your dietary preferences. We see any restrictions that you have. We see any medications that you take, any health issues you might have. I have a recurring guest who is amazingly wonderful, but she has Parkinson's. So every time I see her, she's changed a little. She's now riding an electric tricycle, but she's very well aware of her limitations, and we are too. So if there's something that she needs, we're right there to help her. And same with food. We know what you want because you've listed it. We know what you can eat, what you can't eat, and we make sure we have it on board. I learned a lesson last year when we had a vegan. My fellow guide and I were doing a really good job giving her vegan food, but we neglected dessert. And she was not happy for a little while. So we had to go to a specialty grocery and find vegan cookies. And then she was all on board, and then she became happy. So whatever we can do to make your trip tailored to you, we will do. And most companies are like that. But again, like I said, Wilderness Voyagers, I believe, does it best. And to that end, we also, when you take a tour with us, not only do we see all this information written down before the tour, we know if you're renting a bike from us, we know what size it is, we know what your preference is, we know whether you're bringing your saddle or your own pedals. But we also will call you. I just heard somebody in my house. Somebody's coming in, so I'm sorry, I was distracted for just a second. The guides will give you a call 3 or 4 days before you would travel to come to us. So we can just hash over any thoughts you might have, any questions you might have, any concerns. And it's kind of a person to person getting to know each other a little bit, because we're going to spend a week together. So it's really nice to have that touch off before we actually see you. So when people come in and we pick them up that first morning, wherever we happen to be, and they say, "Hi, Teri," and I can say, "Hi, Joyce." And we already kind of have a connection because we've talked on the phone. So that's a good time for you to voice any concerns or any questions that you have that we didn't cover in the written literature. Training. Lisa also asked me to talk about training. And I will tell you that a lot of people come on rides for the first time and are very, very afraid that they are going to hold everybody back. That's one of their concerns. "I'm sorry, I'm so slow. I don't want anybody waiting on me." And what I tell them all the time is, we got nowhere to be but here. And our job is to let you have the ride you have, not force you to ride somebody else's ride. So if you're a 15-mile-an-hour rider on a trail or a 8-mile-an-hour rider, it's all perfectly good. You just ride your ride where you feel comfortable. We will encourage you to do that. We will stay right with you. If you're that slow one, or that meanderer, I would say, or if you're that rabbit that's out in front, we've got a little talk for you too. And basically what we say is, it's our job as guides to try to keep the group close, because sometimes if we don't intervene, there could be a 2-hour gap between the first one and the last one. And that means we're not providing good service to either the front people or the middle people. The end people get us as personal guides, personal sweep, but the front people don't. So we keep a close eye on that. And when I'm riding as a sweep rider and I ride into a support stop, I'll say to my other guide, "How long has everybody been here?" when did the first person arrive? So we have a good idea of that time span. And it's not unusual for us to say to the meanderer, which is wonderful, because I love it when people get off their bike and take pictures and enjoy the landscape. That is like the epitome of bike riding, these tours for me, and I love it. But I will sometimes say, you know, you're a little far behind right now. Maybe you should get in the van and ride just one section to the next support stop, so we can just like bunny hop you ahead and you are getting caught up. And by the same token, the people that are the rabbits are out there fast and they just want to ride hard and ride fast, which again is wonderful because I've been that too. You just got to know you're going to be out there with without support for a while. If you need some help and you're an hour out in front of the next person behind you, then you're 2 hours out behind the sweep rider. So we try to keep it close, but sometimes we really do have to just kind of have that discussion with people. But there's no weak link. There's nobody that's too slow. There's nobody that's stopping too much. It's your ride, and we want you to ride the ride the way you want to ride the ride, and we encourage that. As I'm training in the wintertime, what I try to do is build up my mileage slowly. And I tell everybody, it's not about how many miles you ride in the wintertime. It's about your time in the saddle. So if you're taking 3 hours to ride 30 miles, that's 3 hours, not 30 miles. So you got to consider it like that. If you're taking 3 hours to ride 20 miles, you're still 3 hours in the saddle, because we do have the sweep vehicle or the sag vehicle, so you can jump in any single time. But I would try to build up to your long day. So if your long day, like on the Katy, it's 60 miles, it would be nice if you could get a 60-mile ride in before you come on the tour, because then that builds your confidence in what you're doing, but it's not necessary. If you get consistently mid-range rides in all the time, you're going to be fine on any of these tours, even if they're long, got a long day or two, because you're used to being on the bike, you know what you're doing. And that brings me to my, I'm going to call them pro tips. Things that we as guides see and you as frequent riders will know. And sometimes I bring these up and they're like, oh yeah, I never really thought about it, but I do that. When you're training for a tour, train the way you're going to ride. Know your clothes, know your food, know your weather. So it's not a good idea to buy brand new cycling shoes 2 days before you go on a long bike ride, because you don't know how your feet are going to react to those shoes. So buy those training shoes as you're training, not right before you ride. It's not a good idea to buy a new bike saddle right before you ride and then bring it for the ride, because you don't know. Now, I'm saying that, and then I'm going to say you're going to rent bikes and you're not going to know those bikes either. And that's absolutely true. And that's just something we have to deal with at the time. We work really hard to fit these bikes to you. We know what sizes to give you, and we carry things in the trailer like handlebar extensions, different saddles, because a lot of times people want really thin saddles or people want bigger saddles. So we have a variety of comfort measures that we can do. So ride what you know, wear the clothes you're going to ride in, know how they feel on you, eat the food that you want to eat when you're out on the tour. If my go-to is walnuts and raisins, I just carry a Ziploc bag of walnuts and raisins in my front pack, and that is the energy I need. And the rule of thumb there is eat before you're hungry, because you're fueling for the next 10 miles, not the past 10 miles. So eat before you think you need it, and hydrate, hydrate, hydrate on these long tours, especially in the winter, in the summer months when it starts getting hot. Start hydrating 3 or 4 days heavily before you ever go on the tour, because if you start drinking when you're thirsty, it's too late. You're already going to have some problems. And I think dehydration is one of the biggest things that we see out there. People just forget to drink. So we'll remind you, and we carry things like electrolyte tablets, electrolyte powders in the van. We have all kinds of energy bars, protein bars. And if you, again, want anything specific, put it on the list. We buy that for you. We'll have it out there. Last year, we started doing alcohol. That's not something we've done before, but because we can't get in restaurants, because we're eating at our hotel with takeout, we've started supplying wine and beer if you ask for it. So that's, again, another thing you're going to put on your list. And we get to know people as we ride, and people don't put it on the list and they say, oh, I'd really like to have an IPA today. So tomorrow you'll have your IPA because we heard you. So that kind of thing we started doing just this year. And I'm sure that will carry on through this year because we're still going to be really careful about our COVID. If you're wearing what you wear, eat what you eat, also ride on in a variety of days. Ride on a rainy day. Don't be a fair weather rider for training for a week-long trip because you're not guaranteed you're going to get a fair weather week. We hope that it's like that, but if you need to know how to ride in the rain, do that before you come. So sometimes you think, oh, it's Monday and I usually ride on Mondays, but it's raining today, I'm not going to do it. Just even if you're out there for half the distance you normally do, that way you know what rain gear you need, you know whether the rain's coming off your helmet, whether you can see out of your glasses. It's just good to have that experience before. Ride on a windy day, ride on a hot day, ride on a rainy day. Get it out of the way so you know what to expect. And I always like, and this is not necessary, but I like to tell people to take a little tour of their bikes. Kind of know your bike. Know what the shifting is doing. Know how the chain moves up and down the chain rings. Know whether you've got 3 in the front, 3 gears in the front, and how many in the back. Know which brake controls which tire. Just little things like that are going to save you a lot of fret if you can kind of be confident and understand it. Let me see. Know what bags you need. Carry blinkies. We've got blinkies and batteries for your e-bikes. And understand the surface that you're riding on. If you've never ridden on a crushed limestone, it is very, very different than a road, hard pavement. Sometimes I describe the Katy as being fast or slow, not wet or dry, because sometimes it can be pretty dry, but if it's dusty, then it's slow. So that takes more work to ride through that kind of surface than it does on pavement. So just be aware of where you're going and what the surface is like. I know in Ohio, most of your trails are paved, which I found remarkable. Living on the Katy Trail, which is 226 miles of limestone and a lot of holes and mud sometimes. So know where you're riding. Another tip, if you're new to cycling, is wear stiff shoes. Whether you're going to clip in or not clip in matters not. That's a personal preference. But soft shoes where your foot is flexing like this all the time is just asking for pain. Wear stiff shoes, even if it's sandals. Wear something with a good sole. And I cannot say the word bag balm enough. Think about that. Your sitting parts are the worst parts to get ready for a trip. If you develop fever, sores, or sores in your sitting parts, you're going to suffer the entire week. So bag balm is a good bag balm, or what they call butt butter. I mean, there's all kinds of things right now you can use. Yeah, but it helps. It does help. It decreases friction, as do the bike shorts. Bike gloves, mirrors, bells, they're all helpful, but they're not necessary. We have that stuff in the trailer, but if you have your own, sometimes people bring the bar end mirrors so they can, we just attach it. And we'll do that if we can. Sometimes we can't because the drop handlebar bikes, we can't take that off and put that on there. So you just have to go without that mirror, but maybe that's a good thing to ask your guide when they call you before the tour. Can I bring my mirror? Will it attach to the bike? And they'll be able to tell you that. And then the last thing that I really have to tell you is pack rain gear, even if you don't think you need it. So even if you don't think it's going to rain, it's not in the forecast, pack the rain gear. I use it for my long pants. I pack really light. So instead of, I can wear the rain pants just on a cool night and not necessarily a rainy night, but they'll do double duty if I need them to. The same with the rain jacket. That's the jacket that I bring besides my Wilderness Voyagers jackets. And it might save you. So bring it even if you don't need it. We will give you a t-shirt and a water bottle and just support you in every way that we can. Yeah, I guess that's all I have for you.
Well, thanks, Teri. I've been monitoring the chat. couple general questions about Wilderness Voyagers. Just, does Wilderness Voyagers have any camping trips versus hotels?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Let's see here.
I see somebody says dollar
Oh.
bill works as a shim. Yep, I've used a $5 bill before. Or any kind of trash you can find alongside the road, power bar wrappers. You can find that stuff all over the place, just laying around.
I've heard someone miraculously put crushed leaves in there, just in their tube, not as a shim, just in their tube, but it enabled them to roll to get to where they needed to
Interesting.
be.
Now,
Yeah.
see, I just learned something.
Yeah, a lot of crushed leaves though. So
Yeah, but it would be better than nothing. It would be worth a try.
It would be. So someone asked about costs. Maybe you can just read that from the catalog page that you have there.
Yeah, each trail is a different cost, and it depends on where it is, and it depends on how many meals are included, and it depends on how many days it is. The Ohio tours are 6 days, 5 breakfasts, 6 lunches, and 3 dinners are all included. 6 days, 5 nights, so the 5 nights are included. And of course, we talked about all the services that the guides and the company give you. That cost is $2,160 per person, double. That doesn't, and then what that means is that's not including the single supplement. So if you're a pair or you don't mind rooming with somebody you don't know, then that's the cost for that tour. The Santa Fe one is $1,500. The Katy Trail is $1,900, $1,899. 5 breakfasts, 6 lunches, 3 dinners. And the mileage, I forgot to tell you about the mileage. Generally, 35 to 60 miles is it. On our Ohio, I have that all written down. Day 1's 54 miles, day 2's 36, day 3's 57, 4, 39, day 5 is 60 miles, and day 6 is 36 miles. So we stay between that 35 and 60 mile range. I have actually all this winter designed the support stops and the lunch stops for this Ohio Trail. And I just get on my GPS and or my maps, my hybrid map, and I find all the spots that look like they're good. And we do some roads on this trail. So we'll be on some blacktopish kind of roads during this tour. So the prices are, I don't know, $1,500 to $2,500. I'm sure the Cuba one's a little more expensive. Let me check that one. Were there any more questions?
How can people get that catalog that you're looking at? Can they just maybe go on your website and?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's funny. You can look at the website and you can see all the guides. You can see about me. You can see about all the other guides. You can see about all the tours. And we laugh, the guides laugh, because Wilderness Voyagers has a tendency to give Christmas gifts to their people, to their guests, but they don't give them to us. So like, wait, I want that bag. How did you get that bag? Well, they just sent it to us. That's no fair. No, we do the San Juan Islands. That one's $3,000, almost $3,000. The Cuba is $3,990. That's a 9-day, 8-night tour. So.
And you said you still have some spots open for the Ohio to Erie tour.
The 27th
of July.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. No, June 6th.
Of June. I'm sorry, of June. Okay.
Yep. And
okay,
hopefully
great.
all those repairs will be done on the trail except for that one.
Okay, great. Well, since you only have a few spots left, I'm going to take the opportunity just to inform everybody that I'm excited to say the Ohio to Erie Trail's Moffett Memorial Ride, which we canceled last year, is going to happen this year. It will be September 11th through September 17th, and registration for that will open up in April, first week of April. So if you miss your chance to ride with Teri, if you're open in September, there's another opportunity to do a group tour that is also supported through the Ohio to Erie Trail. So keep that in mind. Details of that are on our website now, but when you click on the registration link, it just says that registration won't open until April.
And I was telling Lisa earlier that I've ridden in a lot of trails in a lot of places, and I have never seen the people so proud of their trailheads and their small sections of trails as I have in Ohio. I was really impressed. They love their trails. They take care of them. They take care of the trailheads. They feel ownership of it. And that's really impressive. So the people are what make this tour great, as well as the beautiful ride.
That's nice to hear. We know we have a lot of Ohio pride, especially around our trails.
Mhm.
Lots of communities are very happy that the trail goes through their town and people come through their town because of the trail. So
Yeah, that was evident.
So there's a few other questions that I'm gonna maybe give a little teaser to. Someone's asking, are there any don't miss views or eating spots on the trail? So that is something that we're gonna cover in our April
Good, because
webinar.
I don't really know.
There,
I've only done it once, and
there are
it's a little
definitely
different now.
some good eats along the trail, good breweries and beautiful scenery. But you'll have to check back in April to hear more specifics on that. Someone also asked, is it better to go, I get this question a lot, south to north or north to south? So we do have rolling hills in Ohio. Most of those hills, but not all of them, but most of them are in Holmes and a little bit in Wayne County, which I guess is more north. So someone put, oh, get the hills over with first. So if you were riding from Cleveland heading south, you're going to hit those hills first. We typically on our fundraiser ride in September, we start in Cincinnati and we ride to the north. I tend to prefer that, but I will say it's the only way I've done that. I've done the whole trail. I prefer that because I feel like by the time I hit the hills, I've got some days in the saddle and I'm trained. I'm trained up. Not to say that I didn't train before the event, but I just feel like I've got like 3 or 4 days in the saddle and the hills are
No problem.
pretty easy for me.
Yeah.
But some people who are already trained on hills might like to just get them over with. And of course, then there's those of you who love hills. So you'd probably like more hills in Ohio, but we get some rollers. I think I have answered all the ones on here that I'm seeing. If I've missed you, we have a few more minutes left, so you can, not everyone at once, but feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question. All is quiet, which is a good sign. Means that Teri did a wonderful job. Well, if nobody has any other questions, I hope to see you all on the April 28th webinar.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you guys
Teri.
for listening to me. I like to talk.
Thanks,
so it's
Teri.
nice.
It was really great.
Yeah, good. Hope to see y'all out there. Keep the rubber side down.